Hello gamers, welcome back to the games. Yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to go over all 132 cards in the new Grand Tournament patch within Hearthstone. I'm going to give my advice and opinions on each card. The new Inspire power played on some cards will double up on hero power, be able to use hero power after the fact that has been already used. Is that going to be worth it or not? I don't know. That's pretty much going to be determined by when we start playing with these cards. If it's not going to be a meta changer, game changer, then some of these cards are just going to fall flat on their ass. But we're going to go over it assuming that Inspire is going to mean something. First card. Okay, first we have Effigy, which is a Mage class card. I like this card. This card actually would work really good in a control type deck where you would be able to combo it with maybe some type of a taunt card. And just in general, being a secret, a lot of mages will employ secrets, and this is another card that complements all the other secrets and just makes your mage that much more of a dangerous threat. I think for 3 mana, that is a very valuable card. I think it's great for any type of control mage deck. You could pair it with perhaps a Sludge Belcher or something of that nature. So this card I'm really fond of. I like Effigy. Also, really great name for a metal band. Let's look at the next card. Alright, next we have Fallen Hero. I am a big fan of this card. It's a mage class card, and this one actually shadow forms your mage to give an extra point of damage to his hero power, her hero power. I think this is an excellent card, being only 2 mana, and then doubling up damage on that. I've been wanting this forever, so this is a very good card for a mage. Highly recommend this card. And then we got the Tuskar Totem card. Now this card's really interesting because this card will actually summon on Battlecry when you put the card down any totem, not just your hero power totems, but also the other totems, most importantly being the Manatee totem and what is it, the Totem Golem. Now you only have a 12.5% chance of drawing either one, but if you do that, wow. I mean, I'd do that all day long for either or. This is a kind of an RNG madness. It's only 3 mana, so given that and the fact that you're actually summoning a totem worth 2 or 3 additional mana, it's a decent card. A little too much RNG for me, but this game is about the RNG. Let's just be honest. And I think I give this one a B. I think this one's pretty solid. Next, we have the Totem Golem card. Now, I think this is a really interesting card because what I'm starting to see is Blizzard is just saying, okay, shamans, we understand that your overload is important in the fact that we're just going to pay it kind of forward mentality. They're just going to basically say, okay, here's your 2 mana additional 1 to burn up on your overload. So this is actually 3 mana for a 3/4. This is a good card. It is just a very solid beginning in your face kind of, what are you going to do card, because you're dealing with but that's always the way it is with shamans. Like if you react very early with these types of cards, a lot of times you can just rush it and just hit it. I've seen it backfire, but this is a good solid card. And then we have Draenei Totem Carver. Really, with a 4 mana cost, you get a 4/4 and it's buffing all your totems by 1. I'm not quite sure on this card. I'd say just no. In all reality, how many times are you going to have like tons of totems out? If you're a totem player on a shaman and you're able to get the totems out there in time, then this might be a useful card. I don't see it being a useful card. I don't usually have tons of totems out till endgame, and at that point they're already finished anyway. I give this card a D. I should give it an F, but we'll just give it the benefit of the doubt for those people that are into the totem game. I would just say no, not on this, not this card. All right, now this is where Inspire comes into play here. This is where the meta starts to change in Hearthstone. I think this is a really different card. I like this card. 5 mana card, you get a 3/6. I'd like the attack to be more like 4/6. However, you're getting the bonuses on your hero power after the card is played. This isn't like a Quartermaster card. This isn't like a card where you've got your totems out already and then you put this down and it buffs all the other totems. No, this is a card that you play, and then after you play this card, you do your hero power, and every totem on the hero power after that will be buffed by your +2 attack. Now, being that it has 6 health, I think this thing could be on turn 5, could be a very legitimate card. I probably am going to give this one an A, because I haven't seen a lot of Shaman decks that are like Shaman control type decks, and I think this card could possibly turn the tide. I would like to see this card be played like even in arena mode. I think this card would be a good card to play, so I am giving this an A. I do like the concept of it, and do it. Okay, now we got Ball of Spiders, and on initial look at this card, it is not that great of a card. In fact, I'm giving this one an F right from the bat, initially and post. Looking at this card, not that great a card. Come on, 6 mana for 3 web spinners. Yeah, you're getting additional cards. I understand that. I'm not too hip on this card at all. I would say just stay away from this card completely. There's not a lot of even explanation I need as to why. But it's also competing with other 6 mana cards that are important on turn 6, like for instance Savannah, or I mean, I don't even know I'm taking the time to even go any further with this card. Don't do it. All right, next, Lock and Load. This is a really interesting card. I think this could be played in a control hunter deck. I think for a 2 mana cost card, that for this to be effective, you're going to have Hunter's Mark, Animal Companion possibly, Quick Shot, these types of things where you could actually have basically a 3-card draw, and then bringing into maybe one of those cards actually also being a spell type card. This could be effective. This could really bring back the control hunter deck. This card, I can see this being used actually, and maybe turning around the control hunter into a little bit formidable deck. So yeah, I like it. All right, Lowly Squire. Upon first glance, you might think this is a great card. It is not a good card at all. It is too slow to build upon the +1 attack on the Inspire. This is one of those cards where it's a cool concept, just not there. It's a neutral card, and I am giving this one a solid F. Don't even waste your time on this one. All right, Maiden of the Lake. This card here is going to be, I think, a bread and butter card for just about any deck that you see, because your hero power is then reduced to just 1. It's not like it reduces it, it just costs 1. So you can't couple it up with 2 Maiden of the Lakes and then your hero power then being 0. That doesn't work that way. It just costs 1. So the other thing that's interesting about this card, I think, early game it'll help. Also, you'll notice that this card will probably be used in conjunction with the new Inspire feature. I really think you're going to see this a lot. I give this an A. I really do. This girl's super helpful. Red hair, kind of cute. Watch out for that sword. Okay, Koto Rider, 6 mana, 3/5. Nah, the text better be like super amazing below, and it is, but you know, if you think about it, when you're playing it with the Inspire and the hero power being a 8 mana 6/10, it's better, but it's too late game, and I think honestly this card shouldn't really be used, so I'm gonna give this one an F. And then we got Frost Giant. Now, Frost Giant's an interesting card because this card actually costs less every time you use your hero power, and it doesn't have to be in your hand. A lot of people don't understand that about this card. This can be in your deck, and as you push your hero power, this will cost 1 less. Now, a lot of people are instantly going to say, oh, well, that's great to use with, for instance, Warlock or Handlock, right? I'm not quite sure if that's really feasible, because the amount of times you push hero power, I don't think 2 to 3 times by the time you hit turn 7, probably. Most likely 2 times, maybe 3 with the Handlock. I don't think this is going to be that great of a card. I do like Giants because Giants make you think about an alternate style to play the game, all the different types of Giants. I think Sea Giant being my favorite Giant. But I don't think that this giant is that special. If you have a particular type of deck that would work, such as like an Echo Mage, perhaps, I still think this card isn't going to be viably. I just don't think it's going to be used as much. I mean, it's a cool concept. I love the giants. I think this particular giant, not the best giant. So I will give this a middle of the road C, because somebody out there might create a deck. Giants always give you this kind of new deck creation idea. You know, like the way to build the decks around the giants. You're going for a long game on giant decks. I've never been a big fan of using giants, just with Warlock primarily, but I don't know. It might be for some of you. It might not be for others. It's not for me. That's why I'm giving this one a C. All right, our first legendary, Skycap Rag, okay, on the parrot. And just like that ugly-ass parrot, this card is just as ugly. It's our first legendary card we hit on this video. I'm really shocked that this is even part of the new series, the new decks card, and I can't, F. I'm just giving it an F. How about that? And I'll tell you why. First off, the mana cost is at 7, okay? So even if you, in a best case scenario where you have a pirate deck, let's just say like the Pirate Paladin deck, check that card out. That's a fun deck to play with. Let's say we put this in a Pirate Paladin deck. In best case scenario, you've got 3 pirates out, which really, that's not even going to happen. So then you go down to like a 4 mana. Now you have a 4 mana, 4/6 charge card. That's pretty good. But how many times is that really going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen enough to make this a legitimate card that you can use. Hence, I'm giving it the F grade and also a caca parrot poop on that card. Don't even use it for fun. If you want to put it in a pirate deck, okay. But you're not going to legendary with this card, and it shouldn't even be a legendary card. Don't even know why they did this. All right, next you have Nexus Champion Saraad. Now it's a 5 mana card for a 4/5 that you're getting. Not really happy about that, but the Inspire feature on here gives this kind of like a bonus. So in a way, I'm kind of split down the middle with this one, because really, when you think about it, you put the card down on turn 5, and then on turn 6 you obviously use your hero power, but then what kind of spell are you getting? Like it's a random spell. It might not be a good spell. You might get a dud, or you can turn it on on turn 7 when you're behind a little bit, use it maybe in a controlled deck. I'm going to give this one a C. All right, Caldera Drake, or Caldera Drake. It's a 6/6 card. Watch out, Sign of the Beast. This card, I think, is a very solid card. I think you're going to see this in a lot of Mage decks. I will give this a solid B. I think this card could be used in conjunction with Maiden of the Lake, possibly, or Fallen Hero, or the Nexus Champion. You could possibly even see this being paired up with maybe an Emperor Thaurissan to like reduce it, to give you kind of like this crazy mage that will be able to just have controlled fire, which is cool. I think that is a 6/6 card just in itself. This should be in your deck. You might even see like crazy different types of dragon decks maybe with this one. The chance of all these cards falling together, the cards that I've mentioned, not percentage wise, might not really happen, but it's a strong enough card, I think, on its own on turn 6 to put down. And then once turn 7 hits, using some of the cards that I had mentioned in conjunction, if they're in your hand, possibility of that happening again, percentage-wise, really low. But again, I think this card is a good, solid card to have in your deck. So I'll give it a B. All right, our next card is Garrison Commander. Now, this is one of those cards that really makes me think about this whole patch. This really makes me think about how Inspire is going to be used. If Inspire is going to fall flat on its ass, if you're going to see a lot of decks that use Inspire type, maybe control decks, and Inspire actually has some type of impact, then this card would be a B. Although, if Inspire falls flat on its ass, then this is going to be something that's going to be completely different. It'll be more like a D. But like I said in the beginning of the video, we're just going to assume, for the fact that we haven't played with any of these, that Inspire will change the meta of the game. And if that's the case, I think this is a pretty solid card, so I will give it a B. But you also have to think about how many times really are you going to use your hero power. Is it that significant to use it that many times? And only time can tell, as more decks are being created with Inspire feature, if Inspire will in fact change the meta of a game. And like I said, I think my inclination is to think that Blizzard knows their stuff in regards to keeping content fresh and different, and that they'll have some meaningful impact when every time they come out with an upgrade. I mean, there's been a lot of instances where it's fallen flat on its face, but I think this time around, this is going to be a game changer, and you can quote me on that, because I really think that this will change decks all across the board. They want you to spend your money. It's $50 for this, so they want your $50. They don't want to wait for you to grind. They want it now, so they're going to change the meta. That's what Blizzard does. That's how they make money as a corporation. Anyway, Garrison Commander, yes. I think it's going to be an influential card for Inspire type decks, so we'll give it a B. Next card, Poison Blade. Let's get to the next card. All right, Silverhand Regent. Now, Silverhand Regent's an interesting card. This is going to actually introduce other classes to have 1/1 Silverhand recruits, which is different. That's kind of cool. Also, like, I still think that it would be best used with a Paladin, because if you think about it, a 3/3/3 card, you know, by itself is an okay card. But to think about on turn 4 being able to maybe using your hero power as a Paladin, have a 1/1, and then another 1/1, and then still 2 mana to spare, makes this card very feasible for a Paladin deck. But for other classes, I think this is a distraction. So, you know, obviously in a Dream Paladin deck, you would use this with a Quartermaster card, and that would be a must. So it's a good card. I won't say solid. It's a good, quote unquote. I'm going to have to say this. I'm going to have to err on the side of caution on this card. I'm going to have to give it a C. I would recommend it for a Paladin deck if you're focusing on making a deck that has Quartermaster in it. And if that's the case, I would give it a little bit higher of a grade, maybe go B on that. But just in general with this card, being that it's a neutral card, I would say C, because I wouldn't really incorporate this with other classes. Even though that's pretty cool, I don't know how you would go about it. Maybe some of you guys can figure out a deck. If you do, put it in the comments below. This also makes me think about the Inspire feature in itself again, because how useful is it going to be? Because Inspire in itself, you need the hero power. You're going to have to drop these cards down first, then use the hero power. So you're not really going to see Inspire used a lot till mid-game, till like turn 4 or 5, unless you get the lower Inspire cards. But some of the lower ones that we've already reviewed are kind of trash. Not all of them, but a majority of them. So C. We'll give this one a C. And let's go to the next card. All right, next we have Holy Champion. I think that this card is really kind of an underrated card, actually. This was formerly known as the Sacred Warrior, I believe. Now it's the Holy Champion card. They renamed it. And it's a 4 mana card, 3/5. it's, you know, it's respectable. What I like about this card is that you can stack up your attack with perhaps a circle of healing, and it's an earlier turn card before mid game. Has to stay on the board one turn. If you can get it on the one turn, that's great. A lot of people are calling this the medium warden rather than the light warden. On the light warden, you had the 2 health. This is, you know, the next step up. If you can keep this card on the table, this might be one of those types of cards that could be a game changer. I think a lot of people do underrate this card. I think this card can be used in a deck properly with a priest. And I think as time moves forward with this particular upgrade, this patch, you won't see it in the beginning, but you'll start seeing a lot of priests implement this card as time moves forward. So I will give it a B. I'm a little hesitation there on the B, because obviously I'm not playing it, but I favor this card a little bit. I'm kind of in the camp that this card is an underrated card. So I will give this a B. I think it's a value card for Arena, definitely. We'll see. There's going to be people out there that say this isn't going to be an effective priest card, or going to change the priest game at all. That might be so, but I just think stacking up an attack with a 5 health, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm giving this a B. All right, next we have Wilfred Fizzlebang. What a name, man. That'd be a great name. I think I would dig that. Good old Willy Fizzle. Anyway, a lot of people are screaming that this is like an OP card. I really am not too sure about that. I would say on this particular card, if you really think about it, okay, what the bonus is saying that you get, okay, is that the next card after you draw, obviously, you know, this is most feasible in a handlock type of deck. So the card that after you draw the card is going to be 0. Now, you know, you would like it to be Draxus. It's funny because I even think he's in the background on this card. That would be great. But the chances of that happening are really slim to none. And you're only, you know, the base stats on this being a 4/4. Not that great. So as soon as you put this card down, he's going to die. This guy's going to get targeted, and he's going to die. So you really can only use this on turn 8. As you put this down, there's your 6 mana. You have 2 left. You usually will put this in a handlock deck. You know, you push your hero power, and then the next card comes up, costing 0. What is the next card? You know, if the next card is a Draxus, then congratulations. You know, but how many times, and is it worth it? I mean, you have to look at the statistics of this card. Is the base stats being 4/4. If it were more substantial, maybe a 5/5 or maybe a 6/6/6, another sign of the beast, then it would be a worthy card. So because of that, I'm giving this legendary card a fat D. Really. Next card. All right, next is King's Defender. I'm not too hip on this card. Like, really, there's enough weapons as there is for the warrior that it really fits the mold better. The battle cry on here is not that great. Gain 1 durability for every taunt. How many taunts are you really going to have down there? You know, it's feasible to have 1 or 2. Still not that great a card. Not that good a card. I give it an F. Obviously for a warrior, by the way. All right, here we have the North Sea Kraken. Not a big fan of this card, only because for a 9/7 card, I think that really you're talking about with a 9 mana card, there's a lot of other choices for a 9 mana card that you can put down that do the job better. It is a common neutral card, so it's a cool design card. It's nice. I think this is probably one of the highest attacks. I'm not quite sure about that. But I think this is probably one of the highest attacks for a 9 mana common neutral card. I'm not a big fan. I say don't use it. I say don't use it. There's other cards you could use. For instance, An Alex Straza card, you could do that. I mean, like, that's the obvious right there with the 15 damage. What other card? I mean, like, I mean, even the Ragnaros at the 8 mana, I think's a little bit better of a card with the instant attack after turnover. Had they, I'd say, had they made this one a little bit more, I mean, like, if it was an 8 mana card, possibly I would consider it. But just because it has that 9 attack value, don't let that fool you. I would say this is not a good card. I would give it an F. All right, Justicar Trueheart. Now, initially, upon looking at this wild woman on a mount, pointing her jousting spear at your face, you're like, wow, this is going to be exciting. This is an exciting card. I like this. I like what it's doing. The battle cry is replace your starting hero power with a better one. What does that mean? Basically, it's a multiplier. It takes your stats on your hero power and doubles it. On certain classes like Warlock, you won't get damage. On Shaman, it's kind of pointless. You get to choose what totem you want. I don't think that's important for Shaman. It's a legendary card you can use with any class that you want, but there's some classes that you don't want to have this card with. Shaman wouldn't really be important. I don't think that, let's see, I don't think that Rogue, I mean, a 2/2 dagger is not going to be anything. This is more along the lines of being used with like a warrior possibly, or I think primarily you would benefit using this with a paladin. I think for a paladin deck, this makes a lot of sense. Especially if you combo it with some of the other cards we've done previously, this becomes a very interesting threat. I don't like the fact that it's a 6 mana card with a 6/3. The health on it, you'd almost have to lay it down if there's a taunt on the table, unless there's an area of effect card that will wipe this guy out or this girl out. But I don't like the health on it. So, but it is a tasty treat when you think about, you know, the hero power and how it affects your hero power. I think it would be effective with a hunter. There's some that would disagree with me, but I think that it actually would be very effective with a hunter. And just in general, an interesting card. As far as a grade's concerned, I would say, because you're not going to be able to use it with all the classes and only some of the classes, I want to say B, but I just can't. It's like one of those really shiny toys that ends up breaking way too soon after you've gotten it. That's what I think about this card. It's tempting. It's like a drug. It's like, oh yeah, I want to get that because this thing's going to give me, like, boom, short burst. But then it ends up hurting you in the end. I think that's what this card is. So I'll give it a C, because if you use it properly, you could possibly, you have to use your hero power a lot. So you'd have to use your hero power at least, I mean, for this to be, I mean, Paladin. You would really want to use this with Paladin. Higher grade for the Paladin. Other classes, not so much. So in general, I'm giving this one a C. All right, next card is Colosseum Manager, and really this card shouldn't even be talked about. I don't like the fact that, you know, basically you're taking this back into your own hand. It is a low mana 3 with a 2/5. Attack isn't enough to do anything. Perhaps if it was a 4/5 or a 3/5. If it was a 4/5, it'd be too OP. But if even if it were a 3/5, it'd be a little bit more reasonable, but I still wouldn't use it because it's actually working against Inspire. It's working against the fact that the whole reason that Inspire is important. And, you know, how really are you going to use this with a 2 attack? I mean, it's almost a wasted card. So Coliseum Manager, you need to start managing like McDonald's or a Jack in the Box somewhere and just stay out of Hearthstone altogether. F. All right, Tournament Medic with the light in the hands. Look at me. I'm healing you every time you push your power with the new Inspire. Is this going to be a good card with these stats being a 4 mana with a 1/8? Obviously, you're not going to be getting any type of attack value out of this card. This is going to be maybe a longer lasting card. If it were played earlier, it would have been better, like with a 3 mana, then maybe it would have been more feasible. But because it's a 4 mana card and you're very hero power dependent upon this card to only heal you 2, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's not that great of a card because you're not really doing anything. You know, you could put like powers onto this particular card, but then I feel like you're just wasting those powers anyway. It's a neutral based card. I don't think you're going to find this being a very helpful card. I really don't. Maybe with a priest. Maybe with a priest. But other than that, I just don't think this has any type of value at all. All right, next we have Eydis Darkbane, or Eydis Darkbane, okay? She's pretty chill. She's, you know, got a staff. She's got some wings. You know, she's kicking the style up a little bit. She's a little bit Viking, you know, a little bit angel, a little bit blue. There's nothing wrong with being blue. Are you racist? This card here, I like it. I actually think this is a pretty good card based upon its benefits, giving you the 3 damage. It is a low mana card. I like that. We all know I like those low mana cards that have higher health. So 3/4 for a 3 mana is a good exchange. Also, given the fact that the bonuses on the card are substantial, 3 damage. However, you have to target this card with spell cards that would benefit it. And really, the only 2 classes that I would say would be proper for this card would be Paladin and a Priest. And you could buff it out with the Priest. Also, a Blessing of Kings with the Paladin. And I don't know, come to think of it, there's not a lot of spells where you're targeting them to buff them out other than those 2. And so, but still, as a legendary card, as a 3 mana card, I will give this one an A. I think this one actually will be a pretty solid card in those particular 2 classes decks. You probably aren't going to use it in any other deck, but given that this is a legendary card for those particular classes, I will say that I will give this an A. I think this is a very good deck. I don't like that the damage is random. I would kind of like the Sneed, where you could pick the 3 damage and you know, focus where you want the 3 damage. Would have made this even a cooler card. But this is definitely a unique card. There's no other card like this, and I'm gonna get this. I'm definitely gonna get this card, and I think it's something that you can use in those 2 classes decks. And I happen to like Paladin quite a bit. If you guys watch Road to Legendary, you know I play Paladin. I rock that out. I rock the Hunter out and the Warlock usually. So I will say an A on this. Get this card. Alright, next is Fjola Lightbane. Fjola. Sounds like Mario's brother, maybe. But Fjola Lightbane's a legendary card that I happen to like. Not so much as Eydis, but I do like the fact that it is it's definitely nothing to scoff at. I mean, a 3 mana 3/4 is going to be a card that's going to be a value type card. So the added benefit being Divine Shield. I'm not too hot on the Divine Shield. I would prefer Eydis over Fjola. Hey, Fjola, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know. But I will give this one a B. All right, Flame Juggler, the red-headed stepchild of the Knife Juggler. Pretty much upset the fact that his damage or his stats or bonuses aren't necessarily as amazing. This guy just does 1 damage to random enemy, and I'd rather actually have it so that it was minion. I think a 2/2/3 card is okay. I mean, it's an early game card, but I think there's other cards that are much better than this particular one. I think this is slightly underwhelming, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of this card being used. So I'm just gonna give it I'm gonna be nice and give it a D. Sorry, you're not a Knife Juggler. Alright, Silent Knight. This card, not so great. I don't think that this is going to be a very valid card, being a 3 mana card with a 2/2. I do like the fact that it is a stealth combined with a Divine Shield, which is different. kudos to Blizzard for them to make a card that makes you think about wanting to do something with a stealth type deck. I've always wanted to do a stealth type deck that implemented being a natural defensive set against any type of directed spells or attacks on from minions, but without any type of taunts or without any type of, these stealth type cards are really good for end game finishers. Like the Stealth Assassin is a nice one, but this card in itself, as itself, with these stats, a 3/2/2, not so great. 3/3/3 would be good. Using this card with a Sword of Justice would be something I would consider that would make this card a little bit better, but given it, just looking at this card right here, the stats on it, not a big fan of this one. I think Silent Knight is literally going to be silent because you'll never see it. So I could be wrong, but we'll see. And thank you, gamers, for watching the first part of this review of every card that the Grand Tournament has to offer. As you noticed, I do have a new shirt on. This is taking a lot of time, and I really want to take the time to give you my advice and my opinions on each card, because I think it's important to have somebody you can look to who has knowledge and experience. I've been playing this from the very beginning. I love Hearthstone. It's a great game. There's a lot of RNG involved, but if you pick the correct cards and you put them in your decks and you play them correctly, your percentages of winning is going to be higher than others, and that's the whole point of the game, and that's why I love the game. It takes a brain, and brains are strategy type games are pretty fun for me, and I hope you guys appreciate the work that I've been doing. I know many of the gamers on the channel do, and I will be putting out more of these videos. Please go to our Patreon page and please subscribe. This takes an amazing amount of effort and work for me to do, and but I love doing it, and that's why I'm here on the games. See you on the next vid, gamers.